Hi, welcome back to another episode of Nobody's Doing It Right, the podcast for those who are uncertain. My name is Kat, I'm your host. For today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about creativity and art because that is part of what I do. It's most of what I do, actually. And I want to start sharing more content about that as well because it is a big part of my life to create things. So for today's episode, I want to talk about specifically what the most transformative mindset and practice has been for my creativity. And that for me has been to put out more work. And I know this is, this isn't going to resonate with everybody, but I think this is specifically for those of us who struggle with perfectionism and self-sabotage, who tend to overthink and ruminate too much about something that we're working on or doing as not being good enough. It needs more time. I need to make it perfect. I need to make it, amazing before I put it out there. I don't want people to see it yet. If you're like that with all aspects of your life, and you are also an artist and you create things, it might be beneficial for you to start just putting things out there, to push yourself to create more. Now, I know that seems almost counterintuitive because you're trying to do your best work. You're trying to put out things that are going to resonate with people, that are going to be good, right? And I'm not saying to not be good in what you do. I'm not saying to, not try, not put effort into it. Of course, put effort. Be as good as you can be when you do something, but also incorporate more into the process. Sometimes quantity over quality can actually be really good. And the reason I'm saying this, again, it won't resonate with everybody who creates things because some people actually really benefit from taking their time rather than pushing things out there faster. But I say this for anybody who's just like me, who has spent a lot of their life holding back sharing things because they think, it's not good enough. I could tweak this a little bit. I could fix this a little bit. It's not ready to be seen. I don't want people to see it yet. All of that is coming from fear, right? It's coming from fear of judgment, of not being good enough, of being, embarrassed, of just not being smart enough, whatever that fear is for you that's coming up when you think about sharing your creative work. What really changed my perspective on this truly, because I was the kind of person that's like, no, I have to take my time. I have to do it very slowly. And for the most part, yes, I do like to take my time. I like to have time that I set aside for this kind of work. So I think that is important to work within those boundaries of yourself as well. But what really transformed my perspective on this was when I started posting on TikTok. And that's where most people have found me. It's my biggest platform online. But when I started making videos for me were very low stakes because I didn't think I was good at them. I didn't particularly want to be a video content creator. That's not what I set out to be in my life. So video creation was just a means to an end. The end being, I just want attention on my creative work. I want attention on my writing. So when I set out to do videos, I was just going to put videos out there to see what happens, to see the attention I can get. Obviously, the point of my videos was not just to get attention. I wanted to put out a message. I wanted it to resonate with people because that's just who I am and what I like to create. So that first video I put out actually really resonated with people and it did really well. And I realized, I could get more attention if I continue to put things out like this. And because the stakes were really low for me when it came to video creation, I didn't worry that much about putting things out there that were quote unquote bad, not perfect, not amazing, because I already thought at that time that I wasn't the best at public speaking, which I wasn't. I've improved a lot since I put out my first video. But I wasn't great. I already knew that. So that fear, that insecurity was kind of already thrown out the window because it's like, I know I'm not perfect at speaking. I know I'm going to be fumbling some of my words. I know I'm not going to be saying the right thing all the time. And that's fine. Like, that's not the point. The perfection is not the point. The point is to get the message out and to create, to put things out there, to get attention, to get feedback. Not even attention. I don't want to say it as attention, but to get feedback. And for me, what really helped is getting that immediate feedback. The hardest thing for me the biggest hurdle for me to jump over rather, was not knowing how my work lands, like how it resonates. So if you're working on a project that requires a lot of time, a lot of rumination, a lot of overthinking, and you're not getting that feedback, you have no idea what's happening. And some people are fine with that. Some people are completely content with that, and that's how their mind works best. Totally valid. But for me, and maybe anybody else out there who's just like me, having that feedback, that constant kind of feedback loop, is really helpful in encouraging you, in giving you more ideas, in showing you, what works, what doesn't work, and allows you to actually hone your skills better. So for me, my creativity skyrocketed the moment I started putting out more, getting more feedback. And then in turn, I started to feel more confident. I started to get more ideas too. The more feedback I got, the more ideas I started to create. So the more I put out, even though I felt for a long time that, if I put out too much, I'm going to drain myself. I'm going to lose all the material I have. I actually didn't. I actually ended up getting more ideas. And I think that was just my brain playing a trick on me for a long time because of the scarcity, right? I was holding on so tightly to one or two ideas in my mind when it came to writing, because that was primarily what I was working on before that. But I was holding on to just like a handful of ideas. So of course I was going to feel like I have nothing else to offer, right? Of course I was going to feel like, okay, if I put those two ideas out there, I'm going to lose all my ideas. It's like there were so many ideas lying beneath the surface that I wasn't allowing to come up to the surface because I wasn't emptying out the ideas I already had, the ideas I had been ruminating over for so long, because those ideas were stale at that point, you know? So I had to push them out. I had to get them out there. So for me, what has worked best in improving my creativity, making me feel more confident, helping me hone my skills in all regards, not just video creation or public speaking, public quote unquote, even though I'm not in front of like an audience physically in real life, but speaking to a public, right? And also getting more ideas, honing my ability to speak, and also being able to think a certain way, to be able to conceptualize certain ideas and articulate them a certain way. That has massively improved because I was just putting work out there. I was cycling through work really, really quickly. I was creating videos constantly. And I know that's not necessarily the best thing to do all the time. And I know that can be a kind of an annoying thing about the current state of social media. But I think there's a big benefit to it too. Like, it actually has really helped me. Yes, there have been some negative sides to it as well. Of course, the social media addiction, the feeling like you have to put out more to get more validation. Sure, that all kind of comes into play as well. But I think it's actually massively improved the way I see myself, the way I see my work, my ideas, my thoughts, my abilities. It's made me realize that I'm actually capable of more than I thought I was for a really long time. It's made me realize that I have so many things to say, so many perspectives to share, that I was holding back for so long because I was thinking that I have to, it has to take more time. It has to take longer. It shouldn't be happening this quickly. It shouldn't be so effortless to put things out there. And sometimes it's okay if it is. Sometimes that's okay. Sometimes that's exactly what you need to do to show yourself that you are capable of creating more and to inspire more creation, right? Creation begets creation in a sense. The more you do it, the more you're able to do it, the more confident you feel, the more, fun it is, the more enjoyable it is because you're getting that feedback as well. That's why it was always so hard for me to focus on my writing when it came to long form content. So not content, but I just refer to everything as content now, but like books or, longer pieces of writing. That's really hard for me to do if I'm not putting it out there, if I'm not in some way sharing it immediately to get that feedback, to just see how the world responds to it. Not to get validated by any means, because I'm sure I put out my writing now that is not everyone's going to agree with it. I put out a lot of videos that not everybody agrees with. It's not about being approved of or validated. It's about being seen. It's about being heard. It's about just having a reflection that you exist, that your work has impact in some way. I really need that. And when I didn't have that, everything felt so bland when it came to my writing. I had no inspiration or motivation. I had no drive to do it, really. And sometimes I do it because it's just fun for me, and that's totally valid too. But I also want to share my work. I've always wanted to share my work, and that was a really big issue for me for a long time. So now that I share more often and I'm actually putting things out there and getting immediate feedback, it's showing me that I exist, that people are seeing the things I create, that I'm making an impact in whatever way. And so that gives me more inspiration. It gives me more ideas. And then, I get a comment that inspires another idea or makes me think of something differently. And I'm like, oh yeah, I should talk about that too. It's really helped my motivation and my creative drive. So if you're somebody who struggles with it as well, you're feeling kind of stuck, you're feeling like there's a block creatively because, you're spending a lot of time on a work, you're overthinking it, you're ruminating about it, you're thinking it's not ready yet, I can't put it out there. Put it out there. Put it out there and keep putting things out there over and over and over again. Do it badly in a sense, like force yourself to do it badly, quote unquote. Again, put your effort into it, try your best, of course. But what I mean is if it feels like it's bad right now, just put it out there. Because you really don't know how someone's going to respond. You don't know how it's going to hit for someone until you put it out there. And you won't even know if that's something you want to actually continue with moving forward, right? Because you might put out a certain type of art, a certain type of style, whatever, that you've been tweaking for so long, that you've been, ruminating over for so long. You put it out there, people respond to it, they see it, you've released the tension that the overthinking and rumination has had on you for so long. And you realize, you know what, actually, I actually want to shift my direction with this. You wouldn't have known that if you didn't put it out there. So you would have been stuck on a type of style or whatever that wasn't actually aligned for you. And you wasted time. Now, obviously, I never think anything's truly a waste of time. You always learn something. But also action is really important to get that feedback, to show, just from the universe, from the world, to show you if something's right or wrong for you to feel it. So that sometimes means putting it out there. So yeah, if you're somebody who struggles with this, if you feel blocked right now creatively, try putting things out there more. And I know that's scary, it's uncomfortable, it feels almost cheap. And I think that is actually a mindset that needs to be shifted to. This idea of more means less value. It doesn't. It really doesn't. That's something I had to change within my own mindset too. This idea of the more time I spend on it, the longer it takes me, the more valuable it is. That's not true at all. It's really about what's in it, what you've put into the work. And that could be really quick or it could take really long too. That's, I'm not saying one is better or whatever, but it doesn't mean that at all. That's just a narrative. That's just a conditioned belief. And it's not true. It's only true if you believe it to be true. And you don't have to believe it to be true. So don't think that because you put out more and more often that it's somehow cheap. It doesn't cheapen your work at all. Again, it's going to help you hone your skills. It's going to make your future work even better. So it's beneficial for you to do that. But yeah, I hope this was helpful. I hope it was informative. I hope it gave you a different perspective. If you want to talk with me one-to-one about these things, you can book a call over on my website. Of course, as I always say, I'm not a therapist. I just like talking about these things. You can also subscribe to my Substack if you want to read my writing. I write a lot more often over there. And yeah, follow my social media accounts on Instagram and TikTok to see all my other content. But other than that, thank you for listening, and I'll be back again soon with another episode.